The Pine Fund is made up of myself and Phil Lewis, who is in Australia, should be asleep, but is probably still tuned in. Phil is a 20-year IT guy, systems engineer. Myself come from a real estate finance and development background, as well as being involved with some tech startups. And our concept and premise is simple. We want to create a stake pool and set the operator margin to 90% or more and put up zero pledge and distribute any rewards generated to certain entities. In this case, we're picking the first pool is going to be dedicated to 4 different companies, charities, nonprofits, centered around the idea of sense making, making sense of news, what's going on in the world, getting the signal from both sides of the spectrum. And essentially the Pyne Fund will act as kind of a mediator or a hand holder between those companies for the first fund and the delegators, and will help make updates, give information, as well as operate and manage the pool as it goes. And this is, as a concept, is not, I think, one of the big questions. It's a hard, well, maybe not hard, but sometimes a difficult thing to wrap your mind around. We're not trying to compete with other stake pools for rank, that is, and honestly not trying to attract a random delegator to get them to stake their ADA. This is supposed to be, in essence, a way to open up for companies or charities or nonprofits that may not have any involvement with blockchain, with ADA, to softly bring them into the community and say, hey, you raise funds through donations, let's say. What if there was a way, you have a huge donor pool, maybe people would donate to you, but they don't want to give away money, they need their savings. What if there was a way for them to essentially just put money into a savings account and have it generate interest that was going to go to you? Could you sell that? Would that bring in more money for you? And we think that's as simple of a way as we can make steps to do that, and also help bring in some delegators as well, some new people into the ecosystem that are willing to, or that we can teach how to convert to ADA and stake it. And so that's essentially all we want to accomplish with this. The funding we've requested from Project Catalyst is pretty small, just enough to create our first stake pool and operate it. And the Pyne Fund, or us, is really only there to facilitate things and to make sure the flow of information between everybody is above board, and essentially to just choose who the recipients or the benefactors are from the first few pools. In the future, there's the possibility for NFTs. There's a possibility to do like a future tokenization agreement if a startup wanted to raise funding. And there's also the ability to further incentivize anybody that has a pool for their company or for their charity, that gives them an incentive to keep the ADA in the ecosystem, to start paying their employees or paying their contractors with ADA, to start utilizing that as a way to bring transparency for how they're spending money as well. So that's it in a nutshell.
Okay. Wow, that was very quick and short and sweet. I do have a question. Thank you, Stephen, for presenting that. And Philippe, can I go ahead and just start off here? Is that okay?
Go for it.
Okay. Well, Stephen, first of all, I'm very glad you described how this is going to work. When you first presented your proposal several weeks ago, almost 2 months ago, I think, when I first read it, I thought, oh, it's a stake pool. And I didn't understand, like, okay, it's a stake pool. I don't know why you would want to fund that. And a couple other people thought the same thing. But now that you gave a verbal description, I do understand better what you are trying to accomplish. And it does make a lot more sense now that you've described it. So make sure I understand this correctly. You're going to set the fee to 90%, right?
Sure.
And then, so if I were a delegator and I wanted to donate to charity, let's say I have 10,000 ADA in my data list, and I can put 1,000 ADA in a wallet that I call donation wallet. Then I can point that 1,000 ADA to your pool as a charity. Then any rewards that are generated, 90% will stay in the pool, and I'll just get a smaller return from that section. Is that an accurate description? Did I describe that well, I guess?
Yeah, somewhat.
Okay.
I see there being two, and one of the reasons we chose for the first pool or first fund, if you want to call it, to be centered around sense making, is that it's a concept that a lot of people, I think, within the Cardano community can buy into. And so there may be a number of them that have some extra ADA that want to just set it aside in this other wallet, and essentially only generate enough to kind of hedge against inflation. Maybe make half a percent or 1% return on stake a year. But the main kind of driver here is trying to bring in other people that are currently outside of the Cardano ecosystem. But yes, there will be no bones about it, no under the table shadiness. If you're looking to get a return, a significant return, this is not a stake pool for you. I imagine, based on the way the algorithms are, and we've stress tested it, obviously pools that have a higher pledge or given preference, better luck, better hit rate. We're saying we're not going to put up any pledge, and we're going to set the margin super high. It's not going to be attractive. If you're not familiar with the concept, or if you're not familiar with the purpose or the premise of it, you're probably not going to delegate. But if there's a clean water initiative charity in Uganda that has somebody that says, gosh, I really love this, and he's a billionaire and he just doesn't want to give away the money, you can say, well, you can buy some ADA and just put it in this holding account, and that'll give us $5,000 a month, 10,000, whatever it is, in funding that we need. So just trying to look at it through that lens of, there's this other option that theoretically is currently available, that would be attractive to bring in people that are not involved with Cardano.
All right, thank you. There's a really interesting question in chat. I guess we'll get to that. But any other questions from the gauntlet? Chris, Geronimo.
I have a quick question. So, I mean, I mentioned this before. Maybe it's a gripe, a bias I have against charities to start off with, but charities are often extremely, the amount of money that actually goes to the actual event is already low. So creating a stake pool to collect funds and ultimately pay a charity, there's a lot of money lost along the way. Is there just a more efficient way of doing this without, maybe just going through a third-party charity, or maybe setting something up yourself? I don't really know what the right answer is. Maybe it's more like a philosophical question, but as far as just inefficiencies.
Yeah, and I use charity just as an example. I try and cover the broad spectrum, because theoretically any type of entity could use a stake pool to try and get funds, right? A Fortune 500 company, a charity. The first fund or pool, the funds are going to be given to 4 different companies. They're actual real companies that do different various projects and initiatives. So they're not necessarily charities. I'm probably of the same mind as you, and that there's some skepticism. If I donate $1 to the Red Cross, how many pennies are going to make it out to where I want it to go? So I get that and understand that. I think my argument, I guess, against that would be that it just comes down to what people want at the end of the day. Like, if you're comfortable with doing it yourself or donating directly, then definitely do that. I don't think this is a one size fits all solution for everything. And honestly, we're at the beginning stage enough that I don't know what the best utilization or utility this concept will have, whether it's going to be for charities or for companies or startups. I'm not sure yet.
You're doing an experiment to see if it'll work.
Yeah, this is just a concept, and in my mind, it's more of a concept for people outside of the the community. My challenge, and I'll share my screen if I can.
You can.
Okay. Yeah, the challenge that I kind of want to address is there a way, or can we essentially,
Okay, 30 seconds though.
okay, cool. Can
Oh, look.
we, yeah, so like, what is a stake pool? Like, these are not concepts that, unless you're already involved, it's hard to teach people. So like, a big part of this is going to be educating people outside of the community. And I feel like this is a great way to provide companies and potential delegators or ADA holders a way to softly enter the ecosystem. So.
Okay.
All right,
Okay.
cool. And you can bring that down from the top center.
Bring it, oh yeah.
Yeah, top, there you go.
There you go.
All right.
All
Okay.
right. Rick, you want to hit some of the YouTube comments?
Yeah, thank you very much, Stephen. I appreciate that. And we were going to go to the last 5 minutes of this section here. Let me get caught up briefly. All right, from Emonti. Stephen, who will hold the keys of the charity pool?
Who will hold it? Like, who will run the pool?
Yeah.
We will. So there, unfortunately, and there's another one, Stake for Good pool, that is kind of like, as far as I could tell, operating kind of like a DAO, basically saying we're going to set aside 3% or whatever it is, and all the delegators will get to vote on where it goes. You know, we've seen how that turns out whenever they want to name. They had that calling for naming the boat, and it ended up being named Boaty McBoatface. So yeah, that's just we'll operate it. I just don't see any way around that. So we essentially will hold the keys, and if we screw up or we do something shady, then all the delegation goes away and the problem solves itself.
Yeah, and thank you for that, Stephen. I'm glad you answered that. I'm glad that question came up. Now, we do have a couple more questions here, so we're going to have to
Sure.
go through them rapid fire. But
Good.
The fact that you put your name and your face behind the pool asking for a charity, I think is a positive indication of accountability. Like if you were a no name, no face, anonymous,
Right.
I'd be like, hell no, because anybody can make a fake pool and say, we're a charity and donate to me because it'll make you feel good, right?
Right.
But there's absolutely no accountability when there's no name and no face. So that's a problem. That's a big problem in crypto. Everybody thinks they're Satoshi Nakamoto and they're not, right? So good job to you on putting your name and your face behind it. That's important. That builds trust with people. All right. So I'm going to get off that soapbox. We've got a couple minutes left, a lot of questions. The next one was, why is a pledge zero? Is it safe?
I think, the pledge being zero, is it safe? That's a function of trust. And so that'll have to be made up for in other ways. Algorithmically, how the stake pools work, it does have an effect. In my experience, it should be, again, this is going to be an experiment as well. If you've got a stake pool that has 100 million ADA staked and still has zero pledge, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think any of the pools out there have that, so I don't think there's that much of a difference. The only thing is, like, that's never been done. So I don't see there being a reason to increase the pledge. Maybe there would need to be, and depending on the project or who the money is going to, we may advise them and say, hey, you should actually lower the margin, take 50% of the cut, because this is not a great idea, or you're going to get more delegation. So I think there's a lot of wiggle room. It's kind of fluid.
Okay, that's good. Now there's a related question. Did you catch that one, Philippe? What was the other question? Oh, can you get the pledge sponsored? Like in the fund?
Could.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we could. Or if it was a company, a specific company that came to us and said, we love this idea and we want to be able to market and offer this as an option for our donors or an option for investors. Will you create a pool for us? And we'll advise them, say, yeah, you can set the pledge here. you can also have a better chance at getting delegators from within our community if you put up, some pledge. So I think that would be an option. It'll just be kind of up to the market to decide if that's something they want to do.
Okay.
All right.
We have a quick
We would
question
not do
from,
that just to keep the overhead low.
All right. 1 minute left. Go ahead.
Oh, wait, we have a quick question from James Keever. One benefit of charitable giving is being able to write off. Hold on, I just lost the question.
I'm
Being
looking
able to
at it.
write off the
Yeah,
deduction.
tax write-off.
Yes, yes. So, would you be able to write off any charitable donations? Will that be possible?
Now I'm rethinking even bringing up the word charity. It wasn't supposed to be the focus, but no, essentially right now there's no way to do that. So if you want the write-off, this is not a good solution for that. I have not solved for that, and I don't think from the IRS perspective that being a delegator is worthy of a tax write-off. So the answer is no. There's no solution there.